Springbok squad for the November Internationals has been named, folks. It is going to be a busy period for Rassie and the boys because they have got 5 test matches lined up against a variety of teams. Like, France and Ireland are 2 of the teams towards the top of the world rankings who away from home will pose big challenges, the likes of Japan, Italy, and Wales. These are going to be games where the Boks go in with massive expectations in terms of they will be huge favourites, but yeah, as I said, it's going to be busy. It's going to be a chance for Rassie to have a look at a few players, to do a bit of rotation. We've only got the 1 uncapped player, and the squad is still pretty senior in terms of like the average age is 29 or 30. I think the forwards are closer to 30. The backs are about 29. So it is amongst the oldest of the squads named, but you can feel that Rassie is transitioning the squad as some of those kind of double World Cup winning players who have been stalwarts for him under his entire tenure as Springboks coach. They are kind of being moved aside as other guys are being brought in, but it's not wholesale from Rassie. He's copped a little bit of criticism in the past for being a bit slow with sticking with some of the veterans for too long, but just won the Rugby Championship. Number 1 in the world, so something has to be going right for the Boks lads. And what I'm saying with the guys being shown the door, like there's no Vili Louw, there's no Faf de Klerk. There are a bunch of guys on standby, the likes of the Mapimpi's on standby, Lekanyo Arms on standby, Vincent Kokka's on standby. So these are guys who would have been kind of surefire picks for the Boks in the past. Now, there are a number of guys who they've officially highlighted as being unavailable due to injury. That's the likes of Frans Malherbe and Trevor Nyakane in the front row, a couple of, again, your senior veteran guys. Although without them, the Boks scrum has still looked pretty good in 2025. Lucy's the likes of Elric Louw, Cameron Honeycomb, Jean-Luc Dupria. These guys are all unavailable as well. And in the backs, Apalele Fassi. So, yeah, all big name players to be missing, but the squad still looks pretty good without them. I mean, they've only got the 2 kind of specialist hookers in Malcolm Marx and Johan Grobbelaar. Grobbelaar being back is, I feel like a justified recall because I'm not sure why he initially dropped out of the Boks after kind of getting his crack at last. Was it last year or the year before? But he's back in, so I am pleased for him. Bongi is on standby, another one of those veteran guys who would have usually been a kind of sure-fire pick. And then Manus van der Merwe seems to have been brought in, and now he's back on the outer. So it's a little bit of change at hooker. Ultimately, I feel like in the big games against France and against Ireland, Marx is starting. So it's kind of the backup and third choice positions. But we do need to remember Jan-Hendrik Wessels is still there, who is that guy who can cover prop and hooker. So he's that kind of perfect player for Rassie who can cover multiple positions. In the props, that is where we do have our uncapped player, the Stormers tight head Zach Porthen. I don't know a heck of a lot about him other than he's played for the Stormers a handful of times. He's played a few times from the bench this season. I remember seeing him, I think, in the opening game of the campaign, and he's like under 20s, youngster, 21 years old, so seems to have big kind of prospects or big potential earmarked on him. He's a South African prop, so that's already got something going for him. But one would imagine if he's going to get a crack, it is going to be not against France or Ireland, but we'll see. It's always a hard one to kind of predict what Rassie is going to do. But otherwise, the props are looking pretty stable. Steenekamp is in there. There's no Fushi, but he is on standby, and Labakanya is on standby as well. As I mentioned, Vincent Koch not being there. Guy has been such a servant for South African rugby, but he hasn't played in this Rugby Championship campaign, so they are looking at the other guys. Locks, Jager and Kleyn are back. Remember, Jean Kleyn got injured against, I think it was the Barbars earlier on in the year, so he's back. And Jager got injured in that Wellington match, but he's back. Otherwise, things are pretty steady as she goes. They got Salman Marat on the standby list. They said he needs a bit more time to get some URC rugby under his belt after coming back from injury. So I think the locks are pretty steady as she goes. And then Lucy's Ben Jason Dixon. He hasn't played for the Boks for a while. Remember, he got that run of games where he was in the number 7 jersey 3 or 4 games in a row, I think, for the Boks a year or 2 ago. Got found out once or twice. He's got big shoes to fill because he always gets compared to Pieter-Steph du Toit, which is a bit unfair, but I'm pleased to see him back in the mix. He's not Pieter-Steph du Toit, but he is a good player. And then you're kind of limited with the only one specialist number 8 with Visa there. Obviously, they've played Kolisi at number 8 in recent times, but they have got a couple of guys, Augustus and Rus, on the standby list, who could be called up in a pinch. I would love to see Augustus get a call up into the main squad. With 5 tests, I feel like it's decently likely that somebody picks up a knock and Augustus gets a crack. He's had, I mean, from the time he left the Stormers, went over and played his rugby in the Premiership, now he's back in the URC over with Ulster. Yeah, the guy's just been building, and I feel like it's time. It's time to see this guy on the test level. I mean, a lot of people would like to see Eben Rus called back in. I think he's already scored 4 tries in the URC this season, so he's a bit of a divisive figure. I don't think he gets the favour from Rassie somehow. I feel like Augustus gets the call up first, but again, I'm trying to predict Rassie here, which is not an easy thing to do. And then Shizuoka is also there. It's Vincent on the call-up list potentially as well. The 3 9s, Reinach, Van der Berg, and Williams, that's pretty steady she goes. But as I said, that means there's no Faf. And then the 10s is pretty stable. Pollard, Lebok, and Sasha, Feinberg-Mngomezulu. So it's pretty steady with your 9s and 10s. The midfield is also, again, pretty steady. Lekanyama's your standby guy. Outside backs, it is great to see Kurtley Arendse back and Edville van der Merwe back. And I'm also happy that Sebastian de Klerk, he gets a crack on the standby list. That guy's been in scintillating form for the Bulls. Played the other day, didn't score a try for the Bulls, but the Bulls scored 3 and Sebastian de Klerk set up 3. So if there was a guy who's earned a crack on current form, I feel like Sebastian de Klerk is certainly right up there. He's on the standby list with Mapimpi, so guys at opposite ends of the experience scale. But yeah, so it's only the one uncapped player. The average age, as I said, is a bit higher than most of the other squads in Test Rugby. Pretty comparable to Ireland. Andy Farrell and Rassie are the 2 coaches who are the most conservative in terms of keeping the cohesion in the squad high. But I think we've seen Rassie give a lot of guys a crack, but he's just not the coach to kind of switch the entire team up in one go. We see that from the All Blacks after every World Cup cycle because we don't pick our players once they leave New Zealand. So that's, I guess, it's a positive for that policy change for the Boks. And that just because the guys are moving around doesn't mean you're suddenly unavailable for the Springboks. These guys can still be selected, so they keep that bit of consistency. It does feel like a few guys have seemingly fallen off the radar, the likes of the Hendricks boys, Q and Horn, Marvin Ori. But I don't know that any of those guys, like if you gave me the choice, I'm not pushing out any of the selected guys for those guys I just mentioned. In terms of the fixtures list, Japan, I mean, Rassie's talked about the fact that Japan has beaten South Africa before, so they're not going to be taking them lightly, but they will obviously be massive favourites for that one, the Boks, and that one is at Wembley, so there will certainly be a decent expat South African contingent, one would think, there. Then France, that's going to be a big one. You feel like, I think the French have got a bit of an injury toll at tight head prop, so if they can squeeze the French guys at scrum time, that could be a very tasty one. And I feel like there's a bit of bad blood between the French and the South Africans, so that makes it a little bit extra tastier for me, watching it over here from NZ. Italy, again, Boks going to be massive favourites, potentially switch the squad up, but again, you can't take Italy lightly because they've got always a big performance somewhere in the wings. I've watched enough Six Nations tournaments to know that they've usually got at least one close call or upset win or something from them somewhere. Remember, they're not the bottom team in the Six Nations in the last few years. That's been Wales. And then Ireland, again, speaking of a bit of a rivalry, the 2 teams in green, that one will be very, very tasty as well. Finishing off with Wales, who, I mean, Wales aren't in a good spot. They've got new coaches and whatnot, and they've got a very tough looking set of November fixtures. Remember, they're playing the All Blacks as well, so yeah, that'll be their final test of the year. There could be a bit of desperation, especially if Wales and Japan are kind of competing for a world's rankings seeding spot for the World Cup to be a second tier seed, like that 12th, 13th spot on the world rankings. That could be one. But again, Wales, Italy, and Japan, Boks are going to be massive favourites. France and Ireland are the games that are going to get the biggest attention, but they should be really interesting. You guys let us know your thoughts. Who are you most disappointed to see miss out? Are you excited about the squad that he has picked? Let me know your thoughts on this youngster, Zach Porthen. How do you think he is going to go? You guys take care. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.